Truth is often stranger than fiction. My family came to the West after the great diaspora following the tragedy of Tibet. Like refugees everywhere, they wanted me to have the benefits of life in a new world. But this upbringing led to many gaps in my knowledge of Tibetan culture and its philosophy of living, and the urge to fill them. In a sense, my story is a folktale in reverse, since folktales often speak of a journey of a hero or heroine who brings wisdom to their people, but in my case, it's an ordinary person who was seeking knowledge of her natal culture from others, leading the author and me on a journey to discover how and why so many Westerners were moved to incorporate Tibet's wisdom into their lives. My journey began in an unexpected setting, an Orthodox Jewish community in Miami. There I met Nathan Katz, a university professor who has focused his life's work on comparing Judaism with Buddhism and Hinduism.
Just before we're about to go downstairs for the big event, the Dalai Lama leans over to me, arches an eyebrow, and says, "So tell me, what should I talk about?" So I thought and came up with, perhaps you might say something of your impression of our system of education that we do over here. He said, "Okay, very good, very good." And he came to this theme during his talk, and he said this. He said, "In Western universities, you do a very good job about training the good brain, but maybe not such a good job training the warm heart. The heart without the brain is sentimentality, but the brain without the heart can be very self-serving and even aggressive. So I concluded the best thing is to find some way of bringing the two together, the good brain and the warm heart. That's what real education is."
As a bicultural person, I found myself at the crossroads between East and West. I was a daughter of Tibet, yet surrounded by Westerners who knew more about my culture than I did. I left for the American Southwest. I was eager to meet Vijay Hamilton, a world-traveling environmental artist. Vijay had lived in meditation caves in central Tibet and sculpted sacred images which became objects of reverence and pilgrimage by local Tibetans. I was curious what drew her there and what she took back from her experience in my vast homeland.
One of the aspects of the landscape of Tibet that I personally respond to, there were many caves, and where I ended up in Soto Teardrum, there were 80 nuns living in caves.
I found a cave that wasn't being used and started going there every day to meditate, and was given permission to carve a sculpture. I wanted an image that did not represent Buddha or a Christ figure, but was the illumination and openness and connectedness that is in each one of us and is our birthright. Two nuns were walking down the canyon and saw me working. They came over to the cave, and when they saw the image, tears filled their eyes, and they threw themselves down on the ground in their traditional full-length prostration.
As I continued to get to know the people on the plateau, the Tibetan plateau, I just admired the simplicity of their life, the closeness to the earth. And it was something that it was a way I really wanted to live. The vastness was so incredible that I felt for the first time that my spirit had enough space, that it had an environment that really represented what was going on inside of me.
Spaciousness, vastness. I had so little of these in my life as a modern woman. From the Red Rocks of Utah, I traveled to meet Peter Gold, who lived for many years at Canyon de Chelly, at the heart of the Navajo Reservation in northeastern Arizona. An anthropologist and ethnomusicologist, He lived a major portion of his life among Tibetans and Navajo Indians. His writings and work have opened me to how Tibetan philosophy and ways of life embody the universals of human experience.
Both these traditions, they were living a pace of life, living a premise of life that was very different from my natal culture, than my home in New York City. The sense of all-inclusiveness, of unifying your personal circle with the greater circle of the universe. And with this sense of inclusiveness within the circle comes a sense of deep responsibility. I realize that in both traditions, there's this sense of respect for the other, a deep sense of respect for the other, that you do not impinge on the other's psychic space, that you do not get what you want when you want it, and in fact, you can't always get what you want, but you get what you need, as the saying goes. We are all within the sacred circle. And in the Tibetan sense, when a Tibetan walks the middle path, neither going to one extreme nor the other, they are responsible for developing within each of themselves a sense of wisdom, knowing the way the universe operates, and compassion, recognizing that we're all in it together. And I suppose that's why I left New York finally, because I wanted to participate in this other way of living that I was studying.
After a long road and air journey from the rocky canyons of the southwest, I made my way to Sravasti Abbey amid the forests of Washington State to visit Venerable Thupten Chodron, an American Buddhist nun of the Tibetan order and globetrotting teacher. I was fascinated by her story. Born into a culture that shunned the contemplative life, why had she decided to become a Buddhist and a nun, no less?
When is there no change? There's always change. Even, every nanosecond things are arising and ceasing.
The Buddha emphasized renunciation so much. And of course, it's the mind that is renunciation, because you can abandon your physical things but still have a mind that's very attached. So it really makes you deal with your mind in a very special way. And so I think showing that example of that lifestyle is very, very important.
Throughout my journey, I would be assailed by a nagging question regarding my way in this brave new world. Now, with the outer quest having reached a point of completion, I'm beginning to discover myself as both a Tibetan and a Westerner, and my real journey in living is about to begin.